Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Holy Canadian MJ, congrats everybody. It was quite a wild day. So first we're going to go over the setup, then we're going to go over the longer term outlook on things, the daily charts, what to anticipate for the rest of the week or what to be watching for. So first let's go to the setup, and this is such a fascinating one. As we know, I love psychology, I love markets, and this is the biggest 180 turnaround from complete despair to complete euphoria that I have ever seen in any market. So that alone makes today a notable day for me, just watching that happen. And obviously a huge news move. And we see $5 billion coming into this sector. That only adds legitimacy to the entire sector. We know that other alcohol companies are going to get involved. We know that Big Pharma better get involved, or they're just going to see their profits get taken away by this sector. So it just leads to a lot more exciting stuff coming, and it reminds the market, you know, this isn't just, honestly what this was is just a wake-up call that this is not just a short-term gain, because everybody's reacting bearish to, you know, Ontario kicking the can down the road a quarter. If we're talking a quarter and the market is going to dump 10% on that, that's a very significant reaction for something that's not very significant big picture, right? If we're talking multiple years, long-term, that doesn't really matter. So that shows us that we're seeing significant reactions in the short term. Obviously, it's a very speculative space. There's tons of volatility, and that's what we as traders love. So with this news, obviously, everybody else in the sector says, hey, maybe we're going to get the investment from the next big company. Maybe we're going to get bought out. You know, all it does is attract money. And noticed yesterday, the first day that CGC had shares comparable to WEED in terms of volume, and then today it obviously blew it out of the water in terms of how much volume we saw on CGC comparative to WEED. So when we see news of a company like Constellation, obviously the US gets very excited, and that kind of cash allows for a lot of buying power. And what I think of whenever I see that kind of investment, I think, man, these companies are going to be buying up U.S. assets when the time comes, and they're just going to have such a foothold ready to go and such a head start, just like industrial hemp. I was reading about Canadian industrial hemp back in, 2006, and you guys had a huge head start on us, and we're looking for that to be the same way here. So obviously a very bullish reaction. What was the sentiment heading into today? Bearish in response to Ontario. Another thing that I loved about today is with the dump that we saw before the Ontario news came out, there's little doubt in my mind, it's definitely speculation, but little doubt in my mind that the big institutions, there was inside information going around, people knew what was coming out of Ontario. And they sold before that news came out. And obviously they got punished in a big way for that, so I love that fact. But we had the bearish reaction. Honestly, I was looking for a dip first thing on a bearish reaction to earnings, and then bulls to buy that dip. Because the psychology of my standpoint before this news was saying, okay, we've been dumping for 2 days, tons of bear volume. Who is going to be left to sell that has not sold in the last 2 days? And who is going to choose these earnings as a catalyst for their decision to sell after we've already dumped 13% in 2 days? So it's the complete opposite scenario. APH runs up into earnings and we see a sell the news reaction, and WEED was dumping into earnings, so I expected a quick flush first thing and then a bounce. I was planning on going in very heavy onto WEED this morning, because you have to think, who's going to be left to sell? Yes, there will be some people, retail traders, selling at the bottom first thing this morning. And then we're going to be looking at, 10 o'clock rolls around. Who's going to be selling after 10 o'clock, 10:30 that didn't sell in the last 2 days and that didn't sell first thing in the morning? So that's why I was looking for an oversold bounce. As I've mentioned a few times on my oversold bounce plays, rather than try and enter a large position all in one go, I enter a little bit at the end of the day, and then I enter a more significant position on the actual follow-through dump, looking for that quick flush and oversold bounce. So I entered at the end of the day yesterday a partial position, which obviously went very, very well, and it ended up And it ended up being the biggest trading day that I've ever had in gains in my life. And that's because of not only Canadian MJ, crypto had a bullish move. I traded Netflix on the bounce. So I was doing a ton of trading today. Obviously, the vast majority of that was Canadian MJ. But pre-market, we had such an opportunity on CGC. And I was up watching pre-market and I'm saying, all right, we got a short squeeze scenario. I'm looking for a short squeeze when the bell rings. But then we saw it happen on CGC pre-market. So I was selling CGC. I sold my entire position before the open, and that is because of the incredible run-up that we saw right here. So as soon as this starts going on, I say, all right, this is not sustainable. We're not going to open up 80% or whatever it was at that point. So I almost nailed the top, 39.70, 22 cents from the top. That's definitely a little bit of luck involved, but also sold at 37. So I was exiting pre-market and locking in those gains. And then by the time that we opened, it was almost 20% lower. So that allowed me a beautiful chance to reload. So I'll go into my personal trades, a couple of the flips that I did make at the end here, but just in the regular old technical analysis now of WEED, what we're going to be looking at, I'm watching the potential of an equilibrium. And I did swing a little position overnight because it's hard to imagine we're going to see, much of a lower open. Well, the play that I'm watching tomorrow first thing is, can the bulls break the high of today? If we cannot break the high of today first thing tomorrow, look for profit taking. Bulls are going to take profit. Bears are going to jump on it because we have that clear resistance level that they're going to be playing off of. And that's going to give us an equilibrium. We have the high, the low, lower high, and if we pull back without being able to break resistance, we will look for an hourly higher low and that equilibrium to play out into tomorrow afternoon and maybe into Friday. So it all depends. Can we break 43.37 first thing tomorrow morning? And with my position that I am currently swinging, it's a smaller position to remain protective. I'm either going to take profit if I have the opportunity in extended hours, or I will exit if we can't break that high of yesterday or the high of today first thing tomorrow. Support levels that we're going to be watching, the most important level is 38.17, and then the 15-minute higher lows, we got 41.55, 40.87, and then we're looking down. We had a beautiful 5-minute equilibrium today with a bull break, and that was back here from the low of the day. So we had our low, high of the bounce, higher low, lower high, higher low, lower high, got real tight. What was the clue? Look at the volume. Very clear declining volume pattern as we tighten up. That is the norm for equilibrium patterns. And you look for the break in the volume and the break obviously in the price action to indicate direction. And then the follow through volume was absolutely there. So the break of 40.05 was a clear bull break. Instantly in about 30 minutes, we're up at 41.83. So huge follow through, a quick 4% plus move in 30 minutes. And then there was another trade here. This is one, I actually missed that one. I was doing either live coverage or other stuff, but this one I got on the bull break of this top at $42, entered that bull break, and then I exited on the loss of 5-minute higher lows to protect against the potential hourly equilibrium. So as soon as I made that bull entry, I went to the hourly and said, okay, we're a bit extended on this V-shaped recovery. If we don't break the high of the day, an hourly equilibrium is likely. So if we lose the 5-minute higher low pattern, the odds of a rejection from the high of the day will increase. So I want to lock in my profit. That's just fine, and I will reassess the situation from there. So I actually made another play where I did buy in first thing at the low of the day. I just patiently waited for this consolidation and pullback, and I need to look at CGC because that's what I was trading. And it was right after the open. We saw weakness pre-market, and then the bell rang, and I believe I made an entry. This is what it was. It was right here first thing. And it was because we were so extended to the downside, 25 minutes of downside before the open. So I bought in on this candlestick at about 31.07, and I quickly sold 32, but again, using large positions. So that was a weak maker of a trade right there as well. So just continually racking it up with small trades. I did have one loss. I forget specifically where it was, but I made sure, it was here. I was looking for a 5-minute equilibrium with our low of the day, high of the bounce. I was looking for a higher low here, and we ended up fading to a lower low. So I used a tighter stop level, waited till we were close to the low of the day, made an entry, and then exited. And as soon as that happened, I said, all right, it's been a good enough day. I'm going to slow way down now. Time to pump the brakes, as it's been, again, the best day that I've ever had as a trader. So it's all about the high of today, tomorrow, and we'll see if that level breaks. And we're going to be watching WED as the sector leader, obviously for clues, but plenty of other names to be watching. Weekly time frame. Bulls are in full control, and I'm watching for the potential of an equilibrium on the weekly. So it all depends on how much this momentum is going to carry over into the next couple of weeks. But we right now, remember this last equilibrium? All-time high, low of the pullback, lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low, clear bull break, beautiful trade signal. We were all over that one. Now we have the potential setup coming again on the weekly. High, low, maybe a lower high if we cannot break 48.72 in the next 2 weeks. And if we start to pull back and consolidate on the daily, we're going to look for a weekly higher low compared to 31.81. And then a very similar equilibrium will likely form, which would be really nice timing heading into October if that were the case. So that's something to keep an eye on, but bulls have all the momentum and they can certainly just head right to that all-time high. Tomorrow will be pretty telling to see if we do get continuation. As far as the other names go, nice day for everybody, but there's a lot of work to do here. APH and ACB are nowhere near as strong as WEED. We just have to realize that, and because I am trading right now and not investing in these names, I'm going to be trading WEED over these two names every time. That doesn't mean there's not opportunity here, but I want to be trading the sector leader, especially if I'm looking bullish. So we did break support on APH. There was a lack of support. First, let's go back in hindsight. And, I did the video where I said if we lose this support level on the weekly time frame, it's a major red flag, 11.25. I didn't say I expect to lose this level, and that's where people get, technical analysis confused. I'm not predicting anything. I am reacting to the price. So if 11.25 breaks, I react to that and say that is a clear bear break, and I either short or I exit bullish positions. I make my trade decisions based off that key level. So as soon as 11.25 broke, the bears took over and we dropped from 11.25 to 8.62. So if you use that as a signal to exit your trade, you obviously very easily could have entered significantly more shares at a lower price. So again, that's just an example of how technical analysis can be used to either increase long positions or protect profits from any positions. So what we have now is a bounce, a bullish reversal candlestick on the weekly. We did break support, but obviously didn't get much follow through. And anything under 11.60 is a lower high. That was a high of our last little bounce attempt, and we topped out and pulled back. If we do not break 11.60 over the next couple of weeks, it's just a lower high, and we're going to have to pull back, form another lower high, then a higher low compared to 8.62, and then we'll have to break the lower highs to change this trend. If we do not break 11.60, the trend does not change. And to see that on the daily time frame, we're trying to break the daily lower highs right now. 10.52 did break, so that's a start to changing the daily trend. But in order to confirm the change of the daily trend, not only do we have to break the lower highs, we have to see the higher low on healthy consolidation and then continuation. That's what we need to change the daily trend. And even if we do, again, it's all about 11.60 as far as the weekly chart is concerned and lower highs there. So definitely still work to do for the APH bulls. Same thing. Tomorrow, if we break 10.60, we got some continuation. Next resistance is up at 10.70 and $11. If we do not break the high of tomorrow, we will look for profit taking and an inside bar to form. ACB on the weekly chart, nowhere near changing the trend whatsoever. The last lower high is up at 10.72. Anything under that level, a 65, 70% move, anything under that is a lower high. So to change the weekly trend, we're going to bounce. We're going to have to set a lower high and then a higher low compared to 5.29, and then change that trend on the weekly. So again, a long way to go. The daily chart is breaking some of these lower highs, same thing as APH. We need a higher low and a higher high. And just judging by the close with this upper wick, we're still not seeing the same kind of strength that APH and WEED are. This is still the lead bear out of everybody. It is the weakest name. It's just very clear. So we need the daily higher low and higher high to change the daily trend. Weekly trend is not going to change anytime soon. Cron on the weekly trend still held a couple of supports. It is probably number 2 behind WED as far as weekly charts go. Here's our higher lows. We did break one higher low, but we held a bunch more. So there are a base of supports. We have a new support level at 733. And to change the trend, I'm looking at 945 as the first weekly resistance where we topped out on a little bounce attempt. So if we break 945, we start to change the weekly trend back in favor of the bulls. As far as the daily chart goes, there's our little higher low, actually a double bottom, and then a break of the lower highs. So the trend change is underway, and it will be confirmed with the higher low and higher highs. Same thing that we're looking for on APH and ACB. Same play with the high of today, tomorrow being the most important factor. Can we break it? If not, we get an inside bar. If we can break it, resistance after 860, I'm looking up at 880 and 898. As far as APH levels, if we get a bull break, 1070 and 11, already did that. WEED, if we get the bull break tomorrow, next resistance levels, very limited, 44.89, and then the all-time high with psychological levels thrown in there as well. TLRY, so we pointed out TLRY 2 days ago with terrible timing in terms of walking straight into a sector dump on this Ontario news. So obviously, no, you cannot see news on the charts, and sometimes the trades don't work out because of news. Sometimes they work out because of news. But in this instance, we walked straight into a bull break. We were interested in TLRY because the sector started, or I should say the MJ ETF started buying and loading a quarter of a position a day. At least the past 2 days, we added a quarter of a position a day on MJ. HMMJ has not started buying yet. But we were looking for that to be a factor along with the limited resistance of a potential bullish move. And we compared it to T-God, and obviously the sector was different. It was running when T-God was exploding, and here we have the sector pulling back and completely squashing TLRY's bull attempt. So you could just see the market correlation not favoring the bulls and dragging the price down. So we made an entry first thing 2 days ago. Some people took profit. A lot of people did not take profit, myself included, and ended up either break even or with a loss. Obviously, all of that erased right now, but I exited 2/3 of my position break even, and then exited the last third with a little bit of a loss. And then today comes out, and I could say, oh man, if I just held, I would have had profit. But I also wouldn't have been in CGC if I had just held. I wouldn't have taken on that much risk. So it all worked out in the end. But have to manage that risk because you can see, a clear bull break, but the sector weakness overshadowing that and dropping the price very quickly down 10+%, 15%. So where we stand on TLRY now, $30 psychological resistance and 34.10. Citron came out bullish on TLRY, citing the WEED, obviously the news today, as a reason that they're bullish. I think they're choosing this name because of the lack of resistance and the proximity to the all-time highs. We're going to be looking at the high of today, tomorrow, same as everybody else, 30, have to break it. Support is 28.02. And for everybody that you're looking for support, if we can't break the high of today, tomorrow, look on the 15-minute time frame. Everybody has clear stair-step support levels on the way up. CVSI has been an absolutely raging bull. This is the weekly chart, looking to get uplisted to NASDAQ and just through the roof. I would not be looking for any bullish entries at this point. I would be scouting for a bearish entry, but look at the bulls continually buying the dip. Every little dip, the bulls are buying, at least in the past week. We've gone from 275 up to 569 with only 2 days of bulls buying the dip. So support is 455 and 375, and I would look at the shorter term time frame because that's going to give us the most clarity. Clear resistance, 545 and 543 has to break for the bulls to do anything, and support is down at 455. Bulls are going to try and form a higher low and then break those resistances. If not, we're going to look for a loss of the 4-hour higher lows to be a potential bearish signal. So that low of 455 is important on the 4-hour time frame as well. So definitely risk to reward does not really favor bulls. This is the kind of move where I look at this and I say, I'm not going to enter bullish up here. And if we run to $7 in the next 2 days, I'm not going to say, oh man, I made the wrong decision, because more often than not, if you give me this setup, we are due for consolidation. Again, I'm looking at long-term statistics. If I'm looking at 10-year time frame and this same play on different stocks coming out 100 times, if I were to play bullish 100 times, I'm going to lose more often than not. So I want the probabilities in my favor. That's where we stand. I'm done talking. It's been a wild day. Need to cool off, take a deep breath, and ensure that I don't overtrade tomorrow. Today was pedal to the metal, full throttle, and now I'm going to put on the brakes a little bit and ensure not to give back these gains. And we'll see if we get some more opportunity tomorrow, and we certainly are very likely to see some high volatility, not as high as today, but certainly don't need as much as today to still have great trading opportunity. Hope you all have a great day. Hope you had a million bajillion gains. We'll see you next time.